Hey YouTube, it's your girl Kat and I'm back again today with another video. Today we're going to discuss the 11 do's and don'ts of contacting an adoptee for the very first time. I would say that there are very small differences between contacting an adoptee versus a birth parent, but they aren't major, and since I'm a birth mom, I want to concentrate on how to contact an adoptee rather than a birth parent. But so let me get started with my intro right away. My name is Kat Davald. I'm a 47-year-old birth mom to my 31-year-old daughter, who I've been in reunion with for the past 3.5 years now. So let's get right into it. Number one, don't hesitate too long. You could be losing precious time if you do. So everyone seems to hesitate when it comes to contacting their adoptee when they turn 18. And I hear it all the time in the birth mom groups, in any little reunion groups that I'm in, and any triad groups that I'm in. People are always, especially the birth parents, they are always hesitating to reach out when the children are 18. So I did the same thing. When my daughter, I had it in my mind, the day that I left the hospital, when she's 18 years old, I'm contacting her. I'm finding her. Well, when 18 rolled around, I thought back and I was like, I figured she'd be going to college. 18, I remember me when I was 18. I mean, granted, I had a 3-year-old out there somewhere, and I was completely depressed and on autopilot. So my 18 was probably different than hers. But still, I just thought back and I was like, that's such a tender age. And then I said, I'll wait till she's 21 and then I'll go find her. And 21 rolled around and I'm like, oh, she's probably graduating from college. And, I don't want to disturb that. And, I didn't want to disturb her life. That was the big thing. I just didn't want to be that one to shake it all up. And then I said, I'll wait till she's 25. And then I'll go find her. And then 25 rolled around. I'm like, oh, she could be starting a family now. Like, I had all the excuses in the book. And then, I said, oh, well, maybe she'll come find me when she's like 27 or 28, because that's like, like a good age and stuff like that. So I just made excuses for everything. Even when I got my DNA results and it was there, I still hesitated. I hesitated 10 days before I reached out to her. And she did too. She wrote to me that she hesitated responding and that if I had never reached out, she would never have reached out to me. So she's glad about that. But one of the things that I kicked myself about is I had told her that I had put myself in the Soundex registry, which at the time in 1990, it was the biggest adoption registry that you can find, where, you can find a potential birth parent. And she asked me, well, if I had put my information out there, why didn't I come find her sooner? And even now, now we're in a good relationship and a good reunion and everything. We actually just had lunch on Tuesday, and today's Thursday, so we just had lunch a couple days ago. But I feel stupid. I feel stupid. I wasted 10 years. I could have gotten to know her, But then you also have to take into 18. 18 is young, and we found each other. She was 28 and I was 43. So, and I think that was actually a good age because we were both more mature and everything. So, part of me is like, damn, I could have had 10 more years with her, but then were we both ready for it? So, regardless, hindsight's 2020. I can't go back and change things. But my thing is don't hesitate. Don't waste that time. Don't leave that on the table, because you can potentially have a great relationship. You can go forward and learn about each other slowly. And yes, at 18, they're probably going to go back and forth, and they may like push you to the side for a little while and everything, because it's a lot to wrap your head around. It's a lot to wrap your head around when you're 30, 40, 50. So, just take that into consideration. Don't hesitate too long to go and reach out to them. If you know where they are, you know how to get in contact with them. All different kinds of ways nowadays. Back, when 1990 was around, there was nothing. Go for it. I say go for it. I wouldn't hesitate. One of the biggest reasons why I also hesitated was fear of rejection. And it's probably a big issue that holds a lot of people back too. I think I kept making those excuses because I feared her not wanting to know me. Also, I didn't know if she knew she was adopted or not. That was one thing that I wanted to make sure that they let her know as she was growing up. But everything had gotten changed in my adoption. And I went from open to closed right away, to me getting pictures and updates throughout the years, to not getting any only up until a year old. Her name change, everything that I asked for was taken away from me. So I didn't know if she knew she was adopted or not. And I didn't want to be that one to drop that bomb either. I think most people nowadays, let them know. I do read in my Birthmom groups that, people are holding back and until they're a proper age or something, but that's a whole nother video, and I'm not going to get into that right now. So that was another fear for me, that I didn't know if she knew she was adopted. Okay. And then again, not wanting to disrupt her life. I didn't want to cause her pain. She actually said that the reason why she hesitated and she would never have reached out to me is because she didn't want to dredge up old memories that I had pushed down deep inside, which I did. And I didn't, really realize it too much until I started going through Reunion. And if you go through my grief series, I'll put a card up right here. You'll understand what I went through and everything like that. So, but I'm glad I did, because I came out the other side much healthier and everything. The other thing you need to remember is the other person hesitating too? And this is a big thing. Just like my daughter, she was hesitating. So if I never reached out to her, she would never have reached out to me. But you've got to make sure that the other person isn't hesitating too. One of you has to take the leap. And since you're the birth mother and you're older, it should be you. That's the way I look at it. I wouldn't hesitate. Go for it. What have you got to lose? The worst is you get rejected, but at least at least you've had that little bit of contact, there is a bad side to it that could possibly happen. I mean, hell, my daughter could reject me in 6 months, 6 years, I don't know. We never know. So, but at least you'll have an opportunity to maybe talk a little bit, or maybe meet once or twice, maybe exchange some information, but at least you'll know that they're alive. And that was one big thing with me too. I just wanted to know she was alive and healthy and what she looked like. That was a big thing too. So anyways, moving on. So number 2, do make your first contact in writing. And honestly, I believe this is the way to go. You don't have the pressure of a phone call or showing up at a door when you write, okay? It can take some time. It can allow you some time to process everything. And I needed that time. My daughter and I emailed for 11 months before we even met each other. Well, no, okay, back up. we emailed for about 6 months, and then we went to Messenger, Facebook Messenger, and we started there, and that's where we are today. But I mean, it wasn't every day like it is now, but we texted, we emailed, we got a feel for each other first. And it allowed, I know it allowed me time to process everything and think about things. And I'm a big, let me write it and then revise it and then revise it again. And then I was able to add stuff like that I had forgotten that I had wanted to say. So writing is a great way to, start communication. There's less pressure than a phone call. Phone calls can be overwhelming because, what you kind of don't know what to say. You're nervous. Things may not come out the way you intend them to, and I'm like that. Like, I say stupid things sometimes when I'm nervous. So it's too on the spot for me. Okay. And then showing up at the door. Oh my God, that's even worse. Could you imagine surprise? And she lives with her parents, so could you imagine me showing up there like, hey? She probably would have freaked. She probably would never have talked to me again after that. But, it's just too on the spot. It's too overwhelming. Take the time, write a little note, and, just have it be in writing for the initial contact. Number 3, don't write an autobiography. And I was getting to this at the end of number 2. Make it short, make it sweet. You don't need to give them all the information. You don't need diarrhea of the mouth when you first make this contact. Okay? You have time for all your stories later. Introduce yourself, give kind regards, and give different avenues of contact. That's it. That's all you need. So, me and my daughter found each other over DNA. We matched DNA on Ancestry.com. So the only method that I had to go through was on Ancestry. So I sent her a message. And, in the beginning, I tried to make it lighthearted. And I was like, this is really... Actually, let me pull it up so I can read it to you. I think I've read it before. So this is exactly what I wrote. I said, hi, so-and-so. Writing this note to you is very awkward and surreal, so please excuse me if it sounds that way as well. And then I did a colon with a parenthesis, so it looks like a little smiley face. I want to open the lines of communication if that's what you are looking for. I am totally open to any form of contact you would like to have. My Facebook profile is totally public if you would like to look at that, and my email address is such and such. Your smile seems like a genuinely happy smile, and I hope that is the case. I look forward to hearing from you. Catherine, in parentheses. That's it. That's all I wrote to her. Just to open up the lines of communications. I didn't offer her any advice. And at this point, let me tell you, I was a nervous wreck because I had done no research. I didn't know what to do, but this was kind of like a gut instinct, like don't overwhelm. So I gave her, here's my Facebook profile. It's totally open, so you can stalk me. Stalk me, take a look at me, and, what I'm about and everything. There's pictures on there. There's, all what Facebook is, so take a look at that. And then here's my email address. And then she also had Ancestry. So I gave her a couple avenues to use to contact me. I mean, she ended up giving me her email address too. So I ended up, I felt like, okay, well, I'm the birth parent, so I need to do the reaching out. That's just the way I feel. I think that should... I'm older. I'm more mature. I mean, we are only 15 years apart, but still, I feel like it's my duty. I don't know. You may not feel the same, but so then I took her email address and I wrote back to her long form, and we started to get to know each other that way. But yeah, that's it. That's all you have to do. I don't make a book. Don't give stories. Don't, say anything other than, hey, I'm your birth mom. I hope you're okay. Here's how to contact me if you want communication. That's it. Because you don't want to be like, oh, I love you so much, and it's overwhelming. You don't know how they're thinking, because there are so many different ways that an adoptee can feel. So keep it short, keep it sweet, give different avenues for contact: email, text, Instagram, Facebook Messenger, and that's it. Close it out. Don't be overly mushy, and keep it moving. Okay? More than likely, if you connect on something like DNA on Ancestry, more than likely you'll get a response. And just see how it goes. Okay? So number 4, do be patient. Okay? This is a hard one. And me and a bunch of moms in the Facebook groups and everything, we're guilty of this, and we say it all the time. We overthink things. You wonder, like, did I do something wrong? Did I say something wrong? And in the beginning of reunion, I did this all the time. I was like, oh my God, she's not responding. Did I do something wrong? Is she not interested? And it was just me. It was just me being psycho. I mean, it's true, but you're nervous, I mean, she does know that if she leaves me on read and doesn't respond for 24 hours, I do ask her if she's died, just because, I mean, that's just like, okay, well, if you leave me on read, no, I'm sorry. If she doesn't read, if she doesn't check my message, then and she hasn't responded, like, I need to know within 24 hours if you're dead or alive. Like that's just it. If she leaves me on read, then I'm like, okay, she's busy, whatever. But we just overthink things. It may take days, it may take weeks, it may take months, it may even take years. You don't know what that person has been through. You don't know how they've felt all these years. You don't know. You just don't know, and you can't have any expectations as to when they will respond. I'm telling you, it's a big shock. She had done her DNA in 2016, she said. I had done mine in 2018. So she's sitting around with DNA for 2 years, not even lollygagging, not even thinking about, matching with her birth mother. And I did my DNA on a whim, not even like thinking that I could, like that's the new way. Like I didn't even think. So we were both like, oh, smack in the face. So just be patient. It's very overwhelming to just be contacted. So because you have the ability to work up to that. Adoptees don't when you reach out to them first. So it's a shock. You may get a message back and then maybe not for a little while, or it may take some time for them to respond. You just don't know. I remember when I first emailed my daughter and she didn't respond, and then she finally responded a few weeks later. She's like, okay, sorry, I was out, I went on vacation with my mom and my aunt and blah, 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 blah. And I'm sitting over here like, oh my gosh, she doesn't love me. Which, I mean, at that point, we didn't even meet. We didn't even exchange pictures or anything. So, I know the anxiety. I understand the anxiety. And it's easy for me to say this now because I'm well past it. But just be patient. Number 5, do take time to grieve. Reunion is a roller coaster, okay? There are so many layers that you need to go through. Repressed memories come back. I'm going to put up my one of the grief series over here about the repressed memories and everything. You know, it is so overwhelming. Like the first 6 months are just a whirlwind, just a complete whirlwind of just so many emotions and everything like that. So it's crazy. Do take time to grieve. I am so happy that my daughter and I took 11 months before we met, because it allowed me to process my own feelings, not all of them, but a lot of them, on my own, without having to deal with all of the other layers that came after meeting. A meeting is huge in itself. And me and my daughter do things really slowly. Like we just had another milestone this past January where I met some more of her family. And then, later on this year, she'll meet some of my friends and stuff. So there's still, 3.5 years later, there's still things, that we're, expanding and everything. And I'm glad that, we take our time and really absorb what's going on. So take the time to grieve. Take the time to just take care of yourself and be gentle with yourself. Because now, reunion changes everything. It really does. And so I'm single and I don't have any other children. If you have a husband and other children, that's even more layers on top of what I dealt with. So I can only imagine, what you would have to go through. Allow yourself that time to grieve. It's only right for you to do that. Or otherwise you might, put some feelings off on other people that don't deserve it. So, number 6, this kind of goes with number 5, but do engage a support system. You need to have people to communicate with, bounce ideas off of, let out steam. I have a couple of good friends that I was able to do that with. I had a whole bar of people who were invested every time they would come in. What's going on with your daughter? And for this first year, when all that stuff was so crazy, it was great because I had so many people from so many different walks of life be able to give me advice, and I was able to be like, okay, yeah, and I just heard so many different types of stories and everything. And then Birthmom groups, those were great. Triad groups, those were great too. You need to engage a support system. Do not think that you are going to be able to go through this alone. I don't care who it is. If you need to reach out to me through Facebook, go right ahead. You need somebody in your corner that you can just bawl your eyes out to. Because again, reunion's a roller coaster. So, I don't care if it's your family, your husband, or your children, your grown children, of course. You don't want to put this on little kids. Your parents, although for some of us, parents are, touchy subject. Like, I could never go to my parents and grieve. And they would never understand. I've said things, but they don't understand. I could never let it out like I do when I'm on my own or in the birth mom groups or whatever. Siblings, friends, any kind of support groups, anything locally or online. Reunion involves everyone. It really does. So you need to have a support system so that you can also cater to everybody else too, because they might not be the birth parent and they may not understand how you feel, but they're involved anyways. So you need to understand that it involves everyone, whether they want it to be or not, and whether you want it to be or not. Number 7, do take time to educate yourself. Okay, when I was first reunited, I was lost. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and I wanted to know because I didn't want to turn her off. That was one of my biggest fears. Like, I was scared to say or do the wrong thing. I just didn't want to screw it up. The last thing in my life is that I want to turn my daughter away. I hope it never happens, but you never know. I searched for books to read and all different kinds of things and everything. And I'll put the iCard up here for my video about the books that you can read that are good for reunion and everything. So I searched high and low for all different kinds of things. But if I had to choose one book, and you've probably heard me say this before, I say it all the time in the Birthmom groups and everything, one book you should read is Primal Wound. Hands down. Primal Wound gave me a clear understanding of the potential trauma that she went through as an adoptee. Doesn't matter, what kind of adoption you've had. There's a trauma associated with adoption. It gave me boundaries to go by so that I don't overstep and become this psychopathic birth mother who just wants kisses and hugs all the time, gave me boundaries like that. And it made me understand why those boundaries should be put into place. It lightened the load for me to understand and comprehend how to navigate reunion. Okay. It was hard to read. I am not going to lie to you. I bawled my eyes out. It was super hard to read, but it gave me a clear understanding. And it was hard to read because it was like, oh no, I did this to her. I did this to her, or I potentially did this to her by giving her up for adoption. Okay, because in essence, we signed the papers, regardless of who had the hand in it and everything like that. It ultimately comes down to me because I didn't have the balls to stand up to my parents and keep my child. So, anyways, I'm gonna do my story. Don't worry, I'm gonna get there. So it is hard to read, but it's such a must when you go into reunion. Okay, join some triad groups or follow adoptee blogs. Down in the description below, I've got a whole bunch of different adoptee blogs, and I believe I put the triad groups down below on Facebook as well. Those have adoptees, birth parents, and adoptive parents in them. And so that you can bounce ideas and ask questions without, going forward with your adoptee that you've sought out and that you're starting reunion with, so you can get ideas. And I would just join them anyways. Even if you don't have any questions, join them. Listen to the adoptee's perspective, okay? Does every adoptee think like they do? No. Does every adoptee think the way your adoptee does? No. But it's good to... My thing is, I'd rather be over-prepared than under-prepared. Okay? So if, she's had a good life and she's happy and, she doesn't feel like she has trauma and whatever... Great, but I want to be prepared for it if she does. All right, so that's my thinking. So don't forget, down below are the blogs. You can go on Instagram and search them by name. They're on Instagram too. All right, so moving on to number 8. Do erase any and all expectations. Do not have any expectations. You have no idea what's going to happen. And I think I mentioned this just a little while ago, but absolutely no expectations. You don't know how things are going to go. You don't know what kind of life they've lived. You don't know what they're thinking or anything. No expectations at all. Go into this thinking that you're just going to provide information. I know that's hard. Oh, God, I know everything that I say is really easy to say and hard to do. But if you don't have expectations, then you can't be let down. And again, it's easy to say, hard to do. Just remind yourself that you shouldn't have expectations. Okay, I'd love to say that all reunions are great and they all work out and everybody is just happy to be back together. But in reality, sometimes they fall apart. Sometimes adoptees don't want to be found. Sometimes they're angry. You know, sometimes it's just not a right time. You don't know. So I don't want to make it seem... I am so lucky in my reunion. And I know it. I know that my daughters and my relationship is really good. You know, I mean, have I come back and am I mommy dearest? And, well, I wouldn't want to be mommy dearest anyways. It was a horrible movie. But, you know... Does she call me mom, and we hug, and we kiss, and we cuddle, and we wear the same colored t-shirts to go out shopping? No, and we will never will. Never match or anything like that. But, you know, I know I'm lucky. And I know that I'm making these videos in this, you know, position of luck. I mean, for lack of a better word. So there is a possibility that things don't work out. And there's a possibility that things don't work out with me and her too. But again, knock on wood, I hope they don't. You know, the other thing to remember about placing high expectations is that it can create a disaster. You know, unrealistic expectations like becoming best friends or mom again right away and meeting all the time and everything. You know, that's just a recipe for disaster. So take everything day by day. You never know how things may develop or not. You know, it's taken 3.5 years for me and my daughter. And we're, like I said, we're still having milestones. So you never know. I mean, one day she could just be like, I'm sick of you. You know? I'll never do that. But that's just me. Okay, so now once you've gotten a response, you've written your little email and or a text or Facebook message, Instagram DM, whatever, and you've gotten a response, okay? Number 9, do let the adoptee lead. Allow them to be in charge of how this is going to go. What type of communication they want to use, you know, how often, that type of thing. You know, I asked my daughter, what do you want to do? Do you want to talk? Do you want to meet right away? Do you want to email for some time and everything? And when she said email all the time, I was like, oh, God, thank God. You know, because I gave her the option, but I was really grateful that she ended up choosing, let's snail mail, let's, like, just take it super slow. You know, 2 turtles. I'm good like that. So, but allow them to lead. Allow them to say, okay, I don't feel comfortable giving you, like, friending you on Facebook yet, but we can email for a little while first. Like that. Allow them the ability to lead it. Let them be in charge, because adoptees are the one person in the triad that never had any choice in the adoption. More than likely, they were small and they couldn't even probably talk. If they weren't a domestic infant adoption like my daughter was, maybe they were small and they just still didn't have any say. So allow them this. Allow them the ability to lead the reunion, at least the beginning of it, how they see fit. It's important that they're made comfortable and given choices. Now, that doesn't mean not to have boundaries. That doesn't mean that they can walk all over you. And that's one thing that I said to my daughter too. Like, I forgot how I put it, but it was basically like, okay, you can lead, but I'm not going to allow you to trash me either. And I literally said that to her. Not in those words, but in that premise. And that doesn't mean that you can't suggest things either. My daughter is horrible at suggesting things. She's horrible at questions and that type of stuff. So I'd be like, do you want to, like, what did I ask? Okay, well, do you, like, when it came up to it, okay, do you want to come over and meet my family? Yes. Okay. And then last year, I'd asked her, well, do you want to do this? And she kind of she doesn't say no, but she kind of goes around things. So then a couple weeks later, I asked her again. And when she went around it again, I was like, okay, well, that's her no. So you can kind of tell, but you can suggest things, but don't be like, okay, well, I need to meet you right away. I need to, get this over and done with. Like, you can't do that. And take it slow, because you trust me. You have, unless you are 80 and your adoptee is, or you're sick or something like that, then you've got time. I'm grateful that me and my daughter met when we were both this young, because we've got a whole bunch of years ahead of us. So, just, take your time and don't rush things unless there's a medical reason to go a little bit faster. But disclose that too. Don't just, be like, gotta meet you right now. Moving on, number 10, do take it slow. Slower than you think slow is. Because I'm telling you, there is so much to process. Don't rush. And like I said, me and my daughter emailed for 11 months before meeting. It allows you both time to process everything and start learning about, reunion and adoptees and all different kinds of things. Okay, and then the last one, do breathe and enjoy this time. The first 6 months of reunion are basically called, well, not even the 6 months. It depends on how long it goes for, like the euphoric feeling. It's called the honeymoon phase. And it's before, you get into a routine and everything. Like, me and my daughter are comfortable now. We're getting really comfortable with each other too. I can just by what we talk about and stuff. So, when she first swore, I was like, but I've got a trash mouth because I've been a bartender for 25 years. So, I mean, my head and mouth are in the gutter. But when she swore, I was like, you're not supposed to. You're supposed to be an innocent child. But you know, enjoy it, because it really is a nice time too. You know, you're just learning about each other. You're you're just noticing things. Like, I remember the first time we went out for our first lunch, and I couldn't take my eyes off of her fingers, because I remember looking at her fingers when she was a baby, and I couldn't take my eyes off of them, because I wanted to see like every little part of her. Um, Not every little part, but you know. You know, and it's just, I wanted to, like, when she clicked a picture and her toes were in, and I was like, oh, your toesies, your toes, your grown up toes, you know, like, I've never seen your toes. I saw your toes when you were 28, you know, three days old. It was 28 years ago, 29 years, you know, whenever I saw the picture. And she was a little weirded out by that, but I was like, it's your toes. You know, so, but it's nice. Like, it's a really nice time, so enjoy it. Reunion is forever. You know, there is no post reunion or anything like that. When you reunite with your child, it goes on forever. You will never not be in reunion. The day you die is the day reunion ends, because one of you has died. But reunion is forever. And these first few months can be pure magic. So just enjoy the ride. Okay? So if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Let me know if you've made initial contact or if you're in reunion or anything. But that is all for today. Okay, YouTube? Thanks for watching so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.